Dave went too far. He nearly killed me that night.
Abuse.
And I thought enough is enough of this. I have to get out. So I ran away, as far as I could. And I got to a women's shelter. You know, I thought this might be a pretty good place to make a fresh start for myself. Kind of like a new life, you know, put the past behind me and move on. But it wasn't that easy. When I got to the shelter, they told me that I need to be clean off the drugs before I could get in. So I went to a recovery center to try to get clean off the drugs. But when I got there, they told me, sorry, we're full. We have no bed space.
Oh, okay.
All of these rejections were really getting me down. I needed another hit. The next week, I finally got a bed in a recovery center and started to get clean. Decided I should probably go see a doctor, and it's been years since I last went. So I went, and I got some tests done, and now it turns out I have HIV, hepatitis B, and herpes for life. But I guess it's better now that I know. Started to look for a job. It shouldn't be so hard, right? I saw a posting and decided to apply. But if you have a look at my resume, it's slim SS. What am I going to put under education and employment history?
Lack of education, lack of skills.
Even if I got that job, making $8 an hour or $1,000 a month, there's no way I can afford rent and living costs around here.
Low income can afford.
Hi, I'm a 19-year-old, unemployed, homeless, HIV infected, high school dropout, with no friends and no family to support me. I'm constantly haunted by my flashbacks and my nightmares.
Traumatized.
I really don't know how to put my life back together.
Broken.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Exist. And that was a really sad story of someone who was trying to make positive changes in their life, who had to experience labels and barriers and difficulties every step of the way. And we bring this up because this is a lot of what happened to our boss's daughter when she was around the ages of the students that we were working with today, especially around grades 10, 11, 12. This is what she had to go through. And it's so important to make the youth realize that, you know, this can happen to anyone. And the fact that they use these labels like junkie or slut or whore or disease, it really can have an effect on someone's self-esteem, their sense of self-worth, their confidence, and it can make them think this is who they are. When someone is called a word over and over and over again, they begin to think that's part of their identity. So when they want to change their identity and do something else, some people might have a lot of insecure about themselves and so insecure about their own sexuality, they feel they need to put someone else down to make themselves feel better. But we know that when you get down to it, when you look underneath these labels, you have a human being. A person like Melissa in need of empathy, care, and understanding just like anyone else. So we really encourage the students we talk to not use this kind of language and to recognize how hurtful it can really be to someone. And then symbolically, Ada walks up to the crowd, asks them to take the labels off her, and you know that can be another sign that when you help others take these labels off and support them when they really need that kind of support, you can empower yourself and you can empower others. We think this is a really important discussion because we know that no guy grows up thinking, hey, one day when I get older, I'm going to pay for sex, right? I'm not going to get married, I'm not going to have a girlfriend. No guy grows up thinking this. But somewhere along the way, some people believe that it's okay. They get the idea, they change their attitude to believe that this is okay. So this discussion is really important in opening this up and for encouraging the guys to think about what kind of guy do I want to be when I get older? What kind of relationship do I want to find myself in? And also, at this point, we recognize that people will make a choice no matter what we say, and here we discuss the consequences. So obviously the spread of disease, things like a possible criminal record, and you know, if a person is married, the possibility of losing their house, their wife, their job, you know, their family. All of these are pretty serious consequences, but still some men make this choice. So again, we feel this discuss the consequences of when these kinds of pictures are sent around. We remind everyone that the consequences are pretty serious, right? For her, she was humiliated, embarrassed, maybe a reputation was ruined. For my character, I got a criminal record. And I explained precisely what child porn laws look like in Canada. That means if anyone has a picture of someone under the age of 18, and in that picture they're naked, then they're in possession of child porn. They put that picture up on Facebook or send it out to their friends, then they're distributing child porn. They get caught and convicted of that charge, their name gets put on a sex offender registry. Now can my character become a doctor, or a teacher, or a police officer, or a social worker? No. Who's going to hire a convicted sex offender? And we also remind them that for this character, let's say 5 or 10 years down the road, she goes to a job interview. This picture can come up, right? A lot of employers are searching their employees or their future prospects for employment on Facebook. And when these pictures come up, what are the chances of getting higher? We also remind them not to add anyone as a friend on Facebook. So not only do we tell them, don't put anything that you wouldn't want your parents or future employers to see online, but be careful of who you talk to online, right? Because Facebook is a common tool used by predators, stalkers, weirdos, and thieves, and creeps of all kinds. As soon as they add them as a friend on Facebook, they open up a lot of personal information to someone who can take advantage of that. So at this point, Ada gives some tips of how they can stay safe online.
So the first tip we look at is appropriate pictures and inappropriate pictures. So we ask them, if you were an employer, who would you hire? Somebody with pictures on the left or on the right? It's a pretty simple answer. Take down those photos and untag yourself from inappropriate pictures on the internet. Limiting personal information like your name, birthday, phone number.
At this point, we're pretty much wrapping up our workshop. We make sure that we don't leave on too negative a note. So we ask them at this point, what makes up a healthy relationship? Because we know relationships aren't only exploitative or abusive. They can be beautiful, wonderful, enjoyable things as well. So at this point, we get their ideas, things like respect, equality, communication, honesty, free of abuse, trust. All of these things come up, and we remind them that they all have the power and intelligence to seek these things out in their future partners, in their friends, and the people they surround themselves with. So at this point, we remind them that we hope no one ends up in this situation, but at the same time, if someone needs help or support, there are obviously parents and guardians, counselors, teachers, all kinds of people in their community that care about them, and we really hope that there are people who can listen to these kinds of stories because they're really uncomfortable. It can be really hard to hear the story of their point of view. But at the same time, the more that we respect their experience and the more we're there for them when they need us the most, the more people can actually begin their healing process and recognize that something wrong is going on here. And at the same time, if they don't feel comfortable talking to anyone around them, we do have some resources that we provide at the end which are anonymous.
Yeah, we really encourage them, young people, to go out and seek help, as much as possible, and really reach out to somebody until somebody listens. So whether it's in the community or not, we've given some resources to people that are more anonymous, I guess. Children in the Future Society is our organization, and we provide our Facebook and Twitter, and our emails on there as well. We sometimes have students email us after our workshop, and they say, this happened to me, and then we give them advice through the internet as well. Youth Against Violence line, like Kids Help Phone as well. It's a 24-hour hotline. That's a great resource for young people if they want to talk to somebody. Cyber.ca is a great resource for you guys to know as well. It's Canada's national tip line for online safety. So what that means is if a young person or somebody is on the internet and they are being stalked online, they're being asked to go on webcams, asked for pictures, and they're feeling unsafe or uncomfortable, they can go onto this website and report it. And then the person will try to locate who this person is, and the police can be informed, local police, and try to find who's doing it. Our last resource that we passed on is a local resource, and we passed on RCMP Victim Services, and it's their hotline as well. Does anyone have any questions at this point? This would be the end of our workshop.
Yeah, and just a note on these things. So these are produced by the Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor General. Again, clearly outlining the laws and different other related issues. Yeah,
we also have some other resources up here as well. This is a pink sheet that students get. There's a senior one and then there's an elementary one, so you guys can grab them if you like. And we have some internet resources and also some brochures.